Hi there, Allison here with another Cab Franc du jour. Today we're in the Niagara Peninsula of Ontario, Canada, and we're looking at the Tawse 2016 David's Blanc Cabernet Franc. A few weeks ago, the local Ontario wine industry was rocked by the news of the tragic passing of Paul Pender, longtime winemaker at Tawse Winery. Paul was one of our community's most talented and beloved winemakers, and while I didn't know Paul well, I wanted to take a moment to pay tribute to him and to his contribution to the world of Cabernet Franc. Today I've opened the 2016 David's Blanc, which represents the upper echelon of the Cabernet Francs that Paul made. It's coming from the winery's oldest plantings of Cabernet Franc. It's a 5-acre block that was planted in 1998. And we're situated here in the 20-mile bench VQA subappellation. The vineyard is located just outside the village of Vineland on a north-facing slope on the Bell Terrace. This is the lowest or the first of these wide terraces that make up the Niagara escarpment. The bedrock here is complex layers of sandstone and dolostone, and the topsoil is this deep glacially derived clay loam till. And this vineyard has been farmed organically since 2001. Paul began at Tawse in 2005, and he assumed the role of head winemaker there in 2006. He was a true believer that great wine really does start in the vineyard, and he took a low interventionist approach in the cellar. Tawse focuses on the core varieties that excel in the Niagara region, namely Chardonnay and Riesling for the whites, and Pinot Noir and Cabernet Franc for the reds. And Paul was a true lover and believer in Cabernet Franc as a star grape variety. In any given vintage, Paul made 4, sometimes 5 different Cabernet Francs from not only their estate vineyards, but also working with other growers. When I was new to the industry, I recall the Tawse Laundry Vineyard Cabernet Franc as being one of those quintessential local North Star expressions of the variety for me. And this 2016 David's Blanc today is just, it's singing. It's brimming with these Bing cherry notes. There's red raspberry, a touch of cassis here as well. And it has these earthier undertones, of course, because it's Cabernet Franc. And they come through for me as a bit of tomato leaf. There's a touch of cedar here as well. There's also this sweet cured tobacco note that I always seem to get with Niagara Cabernet Franc. There's also this wonderful spice undertone, like a bit of clove, a touch of cinnamon here as well. There's even a little bit of licorice, I think. And on the palate, it is just vibrant acidity. We're talking fine, firm tannins. There is a little bit of chalkiness on the finish of the tannins, but there's great density to the middle palate, great persistence as well. This is a serious wine. It's a wine that just exudes purpose, it exudes intention, but it's also honest and approachable as well. When I moved back to Ontario in 2020 and officially launched this project, Paul was the first person I reached out to talk about Cabernet Franc in Niagara. He was so generous with his time, and when he and I sat down together in September of that year, we talked Cabernet Franc for well over 2 hours. We opened 3 single vineyard Cabernet Francs that day, and Paul talked at length about the details in the vineyard as well as the winery. And he also talked about the vineyard signatures that he began to notice come through in the glass vintage after vintage. Now, the more I taste Cabernet Franc from different regions around the world, from the hands of different winemakers, and this might sound a little bit strange to people, but I can almost feel when a wine has been made by someone that truly believes in the grape variety. And Paul was one of those flag bearers. And anyone that is a lover of Cabernet Franc could see immediately in the glass that this wine is made by someone who thoroughly gets Cabernet Franc from vineyard all the way through to the bottle. Now, this project was born out of the desire to dive deep into the terroirs and places where Cabernet Franc is at its best. But I also wanted to tell the stories of the people behind the wines, the people that have the same level of passion and obsession for this grape variety that I do. And Paul was one of those people. Paul knew how to get the best out of this grape, regardless of the vintage. And most importantly, he knew how to tell the story of grape and place, and he did so with relentless pride and enthusiasm. The world is less one Cab Franc flag bearer now, but my hope is that the passion that Paul had for this grape that exudes through each and every bottle that he made may one day perhaps birth a new fan of the grape variety who will then go on to be a voice for this grape, to preach the good word of this grape, just as Paul did. Cheers to you, Paul. You will be missed.